All right. Well, and thank you, Natalie. So as
Yeah.
Natalie said, my name's Doug Luban. I'm the Vice President of Threat Intelligence here at BlackFog. And give you a quick background on myself. I was 26 years with the Michigan State Police, retired out as a command officer in the Metro Detroit area, and went right from that into a career in cybersecurity. Been with Absolute Software, LoJack for laptops, was one of the directors of investigations, cyber investigations there. So, and then from there worked on into BlackFog, and I've been with BlackFog for a little over a year and a half, or about a year and a half now. So I'm based out of mid-Michigan, and like I was commenting, I'd love to have an exchange and a wide open discussion versus just me sitting here. We will go through, I'll kind of breeze through a PowerPoint, and then I do want to show you a report that's available. Also, as you guys, as prospects or clients and partners of American Lazer Commsat, a monthly report that we here at BlackFog publish. So I'm joined today too by a couple of my teammates, my director of threat intelligence, who just retired recently from Grand Rapids Police as a command officer. He's on the call as well as one of our new sales engineers. So, but first off, I want to thank American Lazer and Commsat for hosting us, and for the great partnership that we have with the team there, Chris, and the whole slew of salespeople and techs that we've worked with for over a year now. We have a great working relationship. So they're here to help, and we're here to help them. So I think you'll find this really intriguing and interesting. And let's jump into it. So, okay, all right, I will start the slideshow from the beginning. So, all right, so I'll give you a quick history on BlackFog. We are a US founded and US based company. We've been in business for a little over 5 years. And, oops, I'm sorry. We have people all over the United States as well as across the European continent. Our company, I'm going to get a little sidetracked here, but this is important for you guys to understand. Our company was purposely built out in the European market, mainly because of the GDPR and the privacy regulations over in European countries. So we did achieve the GDPR compliance certification, as well as POPIA and a couple of other high-level privacy certifications. That's really important for when you are doing a startup and coming into the United States with those certifications instead of doing it the other way around. So, and our CEO and founder, this is actually his successful third successful startup. His other two have gone to acquisition and sold out, but this one here is we're still privately held, and again based in the U.S. And we released here in the U.S. about a year and a half ago, and have hit the ground running, and just we're very, very busy here in the States, as you can imagine. Ransomware, as everybody knows, and I'm not going to dig too deep into much of this, but ransomware is absolutely just going through the roof, and it's year over year over year. And I'll go back to my prior careers and my experience in life. I was in an organized crime, political corruption team when I was with the state police, doing exactly that, political corruption, organized crime work for several years, and really compare what's happening in cybersecurity today in ransomware to what the organized crime gangs of the past 100 years have been doing. They've actually, you got to understand a couple quick things. Criminals are lazy and they're greedy, two main drivers in what's going on in our world right now. And they have all learned that through what's available on the internet, open source as well as dark web, they can go out and they can conduct ransomware attacks on unsuspecting victims and get a lot of money. It's really, really tragic. It's very, very tragic. In addition to the whole COVID and work from home and everything like that, the amount of businesses that have failed because of ransomware attacks is just literally mind-numbing. So some quick stats that our company keeps. We are the global leader in ransomware stats, and you can actually register for a free ransomware report that comes out every month. It's published by our company. We only publish confirmed and verified reports of ransomware. We don't include anything that's just possibly reported in the news but unable to confirm. But the scary thing from this slide here is that, number one, the United States, 50% of ransomware attacks occur in the United States. And the bad guys have come to realize that let's attack the United States, because the countries that they are working out of very typically don't have reciprocity with American law enforcement. So they're operating out of China, Russia, several other countries across the globe, where we can't even take legal action against them or criminal action against them. As you see in the slide here, the ransomware payouts, the average ransomware payout is now over $500,000, so over $500,000. It's up 82%. Their original demands, I mean, their demands keep going up and up and up, but most people end up settling for less. No industry is immune to it, absolutely none. The easy high value targets, it's pretty simple here: government, education, and healthcare. Why? You know, and I can speak to this because I've worked for a long time in government, education, and healthcare, all three sectors. Government is usually way behind the eight ball when it comes to any type of, you know, defensive or preventative actions. And it's just because the government is so burdened with red tape and procedures, and, you know, so much to do, so few people doing it. Really, a lot of times is what's involved. K-12 and secondary education, same thing. Most school systems, and when I was a director of cyber at Absolute LoJack for laptops, we worked with like 24 of the 26 largest school districts in the country, and they're in the same boat. I mean, you would have a school, give you an example, Chicago Public Schools. They had a staff of less than 50 people for over 2 million students. And I can't remember how many schools it was, but it's just an insane amount of schools. And think about that for a minute. Yet 50 people trying to defend against, you know, the bad guys. So they're, the long and short of it, they're just overworked is what it comes down to. Healthcare, the simple reason the bad guys really like attacking healthcare is that because probably right around 2010, 2012, after the HIPAA law became enforceable here in the United States, the value of healthcare records on the dark web increased exponentially, and they've remained really, really high. So the bad guys are going to attack healthcare in hopes to be able to exfiltrate or remove healthcare records from their targets and then put them for sale on the dark web. Because current day, on the dark web, healthcare records are still running about $50 to $75 per record. So do the math. There was just a huge attack in Arizona. It was actually reported a little bit in April, just made more headlines within the last week, but 700,000 patients' records were fully compromised. So do the quick math. If you got 700,000 patients' records, even at $50 per record on the dark web, you see the value there to the bad guys. So, and what they're doing is they attack the organization. They will deploy the ransomware. They'll settle that ransomware demand, you know, with the organization. But a lot of times the data ends up going on the dark web anyways, and will end up being sold. So there's, you know, double, triple, quadruple extortion going on here. So they keep selling and selling and selling. So that's why the bad guys really like, you know, healthcare. It makes pretty sense. But we see it across our day-to-day business. You know, that doesn't matter what sector you are in. It really doesn't. The bad guys are attacking people with impunity. They don't care. So the gangs, the bottom couple points here. Why are things getting worse now? It goes back to a story that I was sharing recently. Organized crime gangs, they have learned, the cyber gangs, the bad guys, have learned how to work together in their loosely knit organizations. And they'll have one group of people that will identify targets and do the pre-work, the intel work. They'll have another group of people that will actually deploy the ransomware attack. They have another group of people who literally come in and work with the victims to settle the ransomware attack. And then they yet have another group of people who handle the payment, which all the payment is done for, you know, via cryptocurrency, so that it's all hidden and concealed, or they try to hide and conceal it. And you've got that many people involved in the circle. So oftentimes they don't even know who each other are, and they're not even in the same geographic locations, but they're working together. So it's truly right in line with, an organized crime, racketeering, drug trade, even you go back to the prohibition, times. It's again, all about greed, all about being lazy and not having a real legitimate job. Today's ransomware attacks are at least 80% effective at bypassing today's current antivirus protections. And that's really why and what led to BlackFog being created. So we were founded in 2015. I've talked to most of these points, but the main point I want everyone to understand is that BlackFog, we do things completely different here. The cybersecurity industry as a whole was just working on protecting the perimeter. So they were trying to keep the bad guys from getting in. And what we were seeing at Absolute Software LoJack for laptops from the cyber team was it really didn't matter what we as an industry and as a profession were trying to do. The bad guys were getting in because a couple things. Number one, I've already talked to it, they're greedy and they're lazy. But number two, more importantly, they don't have any rules. They don't have any bosses. They don't have any regulatory agencies looking over their shoulders. They don't have to file reports. They don't have to file compliance reports. And I'm sure there's people on the call today that are, in regulated industries where you have to fill out and file all your compliance, ask your questionnaires, fill out your cybersecurity insurance questionnaires. The bad guys don't have to do any of this. So they literally, it didn't matter to them how tall you built your walls, how deep you dug your moats, how many armed guards you had on the exterior. They didn't care. They were finding a way to get in. And then once they got in, what they were doing was taking your data, and that's called data exfiltration. So that's what led to the creation of BlackFog. Was our CEO and founder, his concept was, let's stop the outbound flow of data. So that's what he created, and that is what has led to BlackFog. And we have really turned the industry on its head. And it's actually been a blast, and it continues to be a blast because we're stopping the bad guys from taking your data. We operate on the premise that they're already in your network, and we see this every day. But we operate on the fact that we will stop them from taking anything out of your network. We're an endpoint solution, so we're on the device. This is really key to understand. We're based on the device. The protection stays with the device 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it doesn't matter where or how you're connecting to the internet. You can connect to the world's crappiest Wi-Fi in the middle of Chicago O'Hare Airport or at a hotel traveling across the world. It doesn't matter what you're connecting to. BlackFog will stop any data exfiltration attempts and stop the bad guys from stealing your data. Because we can do this, we stop the outbound flow of data. We actually stop the bad guys from even deploying a ransomware attack. So follow me on this. The bad guy literally will identify a network or a device that they want to attack, and they will send a request to that device. Their request will have a little payload on it where they're trying to actually deploy encryption, which is what starts the whole ransomware process. Well, in order for them to deploy it, that device, the target device, has to return call. Basically, it's ET phoning home, and we stop that return communication. So the bad guy can't even get a return communication from their command. So the ransomware attack doesn't even get to be deployed or downloaded or effectuated. And we see this every day. Pardon my crassness here, but we actually take a lot of pride in the fact that we work really hard and we enjoy pissing off the bad guys every single day, because we see this literally happen every single day with clients and even prospects. It's a lot of fun. I'll share a couple stories with you. Going back to the slideshow here real quick, but I already talked about extortion and the double and triple extortion. What that means is, so they attack you, they steal all your data, and we have stories of this every single week and in the industry. But so I'll give you a good one. There was a dental industry up, or dental practice, good size one up in, I think it was Minnesota, somewhere in the upper Midwest. They got attacked by ransomware. They lost a huge data file with their patients' information in it. Well, the bad guys, they demanded ransomware and they were working out settling that, but then they went and they actually attacked every single customer because they had their data record. So they attacked them individually, and they were deploying ransomware attacks and extortion attacks on every single customer and patient of that dental organization. And we've seen that where it's gone actually even deeper than that, where then they'll resell the information and then they'll get reattacked. So it's, again, back to my comments, bad guys don't care, they're greedy, and they're lazy. Some of the things that most people don't consider as far as an original cost of an attack is the direct cost. I mean, obviously that you're going to think of, what do you have to pay to settle it? But the business disruption is amazing. I live north of Detroit, and conversations that I have with anybody in the automotive industry, you're talking people who have already predetermined if they have 1 day worth of disruption, it's in the millions of dollars to have their production stop for a day. Remediation costs are huge, lawsuits, government fines, the list just goes on and on and on. So we've already talked about this to a point. Typical traditional security was focused on the perimeter, and we look at all of the outbound. So we do operate under the presumption that the bad guys are already in your network or going to get in, and we really don't care because we stop them from getting out. So there's nothing that they can do if they can't get out with your data or even their original communication. You see the third point there where it says that we stop communication to the C2 servers. That's the story I relayed to you. As far as the bad guy sending, calling your computer and wanting to deploy a ransomware attack and has to encrypt all your data. We stop the original return communication, so it stops their attack right dead in its tracks. We also stop lateral movement, so if they get into one device, they're not able to move around in your network any further. They will be stopped dead in their tracks right there. And this is just kind of a description of a current, the current perimeter defense, where you have antivirus, you have perimeter defense on your network, your firewall, and all that. But there's really nothing going on the outbound. That's where BlackFog comes in. We work and focus completely on the outbound flow of data. We're deployed, to get a little technical here, but we are deployed at the network 3 level. So any and all outbound communications are run through our rule set. We have over 30 different rules that we look for any type of violations. And we monitor all of the outbound communication at the netcard 3 level, which is really important to understand, not as a techie or as to be a propeller head or a techie. But the cool thing is that your device, again, remember, the protection is on the device. So anytime your device is communicating, it has to go through the netcard 3 for a return communication. And BlackFog sits right there and protects you with any and all outbound communications. So data exfiltration has become a huge priority. And I have to honestly apologize because this 94%. So right now, most organizations do consider data exfiltration as a top priority, but this number has actually grown and it's gotten much bigger, and it continues to grow. 3/5 of organizations. This was an interesting survey by Osterman Research. But 3/5, so 60% of organizations that were surveyed said they were not confident at all in their ability to stop a data exfiltration in a ransomware attack. And the red marks here, the indicators here, just show what type of information that they were concerned about as well. So we do have, and through your contacts at Commsat, American Lazer, do have the ability to run a free ransomware assessment with you. And it's actually a very powerful experiment and proof of value. So work with your guys at Commsat, American Lazer, and have them get set up on it, because it's really a powerful tool, because we allow you 7 to 14 days, up to 25 devices. We do cover all 4 platforms: Windows, Android, Mac, iOS. And we will work with you and the team at American Commsat and show you the value of what, in a real world environment, that BlackFog can bring to you. So I'm actually going to back up and I'm going to go into a couple of quick stories here. So they got so many that it's honestly mind-boggling, but I kind of highlight a couple of them before I get there. Natalie, do we have any questions?
Oops, sorry. No, none yet.
Okay. All right.
Well, there's one that we can talk about at the end, but one person wanted to know like what they do, what happens when they sell, for example, healthcare data. Someone's buying it, but what are they buying it for?
So okay, great question. So the bad guys, they will buy a healthcare record, and what they do, there's two main things. And actually, this is what one of my primary certifications is in healthcare, privacy and security. The bad guys will take those healthcare records and they will create a fake doctor's office, and they will act like that doctor is then seeing all of these patients. And so the patients that they'll create a patient list from all the records that they get off of the dark web. The records will have your name, your address, your date of birth, your social security number. A lot of times they'll have your full health record with it, so they know what types of services they can bill for. So they create the fake doctor's organization, fake doctor's office. Then they use these healthcare records, and they will then start billing insurance companies for fake visits. And the value to the healthcare record is, number one, it gives them all the identity that they need to do this. But number two, it gives them a backstory. Okay, let's say you get, Sally's healthcare record, and that Sally has had a problem with psoriasis. So you just bill for some psoriasis visits and some skincare treatments and some, so you see the picture. They're creating an entire fake doctor's office. And the money that is involved is absolutely insane. I mean, literally millions and millions of dollars in fraudulent billings to Medicare, Medicaid, private health care. Again, remember, they've got your entire healthcare record, so they know that Sally is insured through, Health Plus of Michigan, and they know what her policy number is, so they can continue to bill, and they will get the money. And these fake doctors' offices so often are, most of them are done overseas, where there's no cross, prosecution or any legal actions, criminal actions, but they hide it and make it look like it's coming from, downtown Flint, and they'll get payment set up. All the payments done electronically, so they receive payment. And sadly, the success rate of these efforts is huge, absolutely huge. So that's really the main one, is fraudulent doctors, office and billings, and fraudulently billing the insurance companies. The other reason that the healthcare record is so valuable on the dark web is that with a full healthcare record, you've got everything. And someone else can then become that person. Someone goes on the dark web, and let's say they buy a batch of 500 healthcare records. They're paying $50 a piece for them. So they've got $25,000 invested in them, but they can get enough information that they can then apply for credit cards. They can go to basically any local store and apply for a $1,000 or a $2,000 credit card at the drop of a hat, buy a bunch of stuff, and then sell it in their neighborhood, sell it on eBay, sell it on Craigslist, sell it on whatever, but make a bunch of money, and then they never have to worry about it. The bill never gets paid. It's all fraudulent, until Sally wakes up and starts getting all these bills that she didn't incur, if that makes sense. So that's the two main reasons. They will assume the person's identity and create fraudulent profiles and credit actions,
Mm-hmm.
and make money from that. Then the other one is the doctor's aspect. So,
Okay, thank you. That's scary.
yeah,
Thanks.
but great question. Great question. So I'll share some stories, and I think we've got some people on that are from healthcare. So just in the past, year or so here at BlackFog, we've had several healthcare customers come on board and engage with us here at BlackFog. Absolutely love us. I'll share a couple of use case stories. I can name two of them right now that are both Midwest healthcare organizations. One's fairly small, one's a decent size, multiple bed, multiple location organization. They both had really solid cybersecurity defensive systems put in place. Their environments looked nice and clean, their actions were clean. But the value that they saw in us, and we did the ransomware assessment, they had a few violations and a few attacks that were happening. Nothing that was outstanding, but it was still powerful enough to them so that they said, well, you know what? If that one or two attack that you guys blocked during this trial, and we were only testing it on, let's say, 10 devices, if that you start deploying it on all of our devices across our network and you start doing the math, that really becomes a huge risk, because one simple ransomware attack that is successful can actually, bankrupt any type of a business. So both of the healthcare organizations that I'm talking to you about, both of them had really beautiful, real nice, clean environments. They had a couple little attacks that weren't really, mind-boggling, but they saw the value in them because it was the what if. Well, what if we didn't have this and the bad guys got in? So they deployed us. We're, standing customers with them and work with them and absolutely love us. And the commentary, because we stay in touch with the clients too, as far as, working with them throughout the time they're a customer. Their comments back to us and their compliments are just amazing, because with having BlackFog on, it allows them to sleep well and rest knowing that all the defensive actions are being done automatically. And it's not reliant upon someone having to react to something. That's a unique thing about us here at BlackFog, is that our tool set is designed and developed so that the defensive action is done automatically. And what we or the team at Commsat would see is the results of your blockings. And then if there's specific actions that you might need to take to, help further, your defensive, then they would get in touch with you and let you know, hey, maybe you should look at Sally's device. We're gonna pick on Sally all day here, but maybe you should look at Sally's device and have her change her username or password or something simple like that. But the comforting thing is, and the confident thing is, to know that BlackFog is working and our defensive actions are already done. Unlike most other solutions in the industry, they will identify a violation, they'll report it to the tech team, and then the tech team has to do something to resolve it, well, by then it's too late. The ransomware attack has already taken place. They've already started to steal your data, and there's not a lot of value in that. So we take a lot of pride in the fact that ours is done automatically.
Doug, we have another question.
Sure.
It's from Ian, who's online, and he's asking, what do you think about cyber insurance for small businesses? Are they considered reliable? Are they considered a reliable add-on for their IT team?
Yes, I do. Yep, I really do. I think cyber insurance is a good thing. We are presently partnered with cyber insurance providers, and it's been a great relationship with us. And it's actually just been it's not even a monetary relationship. It's a handshake because we both see value in each other. We see the value in cyber insurance for our clients and anybody out there. They see the value in us. But I mean, we can probably state that, 100% of our clients that have the cyber insurance and then have engaged with BlackFog, none of them had a successful ransomware attack since they come on board with us. I do see a lot of value in cyber insurance. It's getting harder to get it, and having a solution like ours, like BlackFog, actually really checks a lot of boxes, because when you sign up for cyber insurance, you'll get a very detailed questionnaire asking you about your particular defenses. And that's another nice thing about BlackFog is that you can check off the box that you have an endpoint defense protection solution put in place. So you can check those boxes. But good
Right.
question.
Yeah, and then another one, and I think you just answered it. Does purchasing BlackFog keep customers compliant with their insurance policies regarding the payouts in the event of attack? And you just answered that, I think.
Yep,
Great.
it should. I can't say definitively yes, but it should, and it's what we typically see. We work with clients on both end of that equation with the cyber insurance carriers, and then also clients who have. I've got one guy right now that's a pretty large automotive in the automotive industry, and I'll share this story. They were denied cyber insurance because of a couple of events that had taken place. And they have applied to multiple cyber insurance carriers, and they're being continually denied reapplication because of the events. Well, because of our partnership and because they are seeing the value in us, they're actually now able to at least have some conversations with some cyber carriers and say, hey, look, we're looking to engage with BlackFog and get them on board fully. We're still in a proof of value with them, but the buy-in is there from both ends of that equation, if that makes sense. So another good question. So got any more? I'll go to another quick story.
None right now.
Okay. All right. So again, and I like telling these stories because these are real world, real life stories that we see every single day, and you can't make this stuff up. So I'll tell you a quick one on another automotive. This one was down in the Chicago area. This was a multi-generational company, and they were signing up for our ransomware assessment challenge. And their tech director, our call was on Monday morning, first thing. Well, the tech director at the organization, he thought, okay, I'll get a little ahead of the game. So he installed the console and he installed our software on 4 devices. And so over the weekend, unbeknownst to them, they got attacked by a ransomware attack, a pretty aggressive one, to be honest. 2 of their servers and 2 of the devices both got attacked, both as in all 4 of them. The one attack started on Friday night about 11:30, which is really common for the bad guys to attack late at night and weekends and holidays because they count on the fact that nobody's really monitoring it. But because they had BlackFog deployed, so Monday morning, we jump on this call with the tech director and then one of the leadership team from this company. We're going over what we already saw. We didn't even know they had installed us on their devices yet until we got on the call. But we're like, holy cow, you guys got ransomware attacked. So Friday night and then again Saturday morning, they got attacked. Their servers, the 2 servers he had installed, got attacked really hard. And BlackFog stopped it. So needless to say, they became an immediate customer. They're a pretty good sized environment. They had a bunch more servers. So as soon as they put us on the other servers, they already had ransomware attacks in play because the attack had actually come earlier prior to us getting engaged. But now because we were blocking all of the attacks, the bad guys aren't getting any data. So they're speeding up their attacks. And they're trying to change, different values and different ways to formulate the attack. And yet BlackFog continued to stop them. So the really cool success story on it is that you'd watch the bad guys, they would attack for a day, maybe 2 days, and throw literally thousands of attacks at each server or each device. BlackFog stopped it, and they would move on to another device, another device, another device. And because we were on everything in their environment, we just stopped all the attacks to the point that it was a matter of a couple of weeks and the bad guys just literally walked away. They've never come back. So they've never had any additional attacks because we stopped, and we were stopping the data exfiltration. So kind of a powerful story. We've got several of those in many different industries as well. So I'll take it to another level, a global level. So this one's really interesting. And again, you can't make this stuff up. So myself and one of my other teammates, who's been here almost 5 years, our technical sales director, and he services several different continents. But he and I were on a call for a client here in the States. And we see these attacks that are coming from an extension, so showing that they were coming from the country .re. Well, I had never, so instead of like here in the US, it's mostly .com. So these were all coming from .re. Well, I'd never seen, and nor did I know where .re was. And my technical sales director, Osmond, he's like, he all of a sudden he lights up and he's like, holy cow, he says, this is the 6th or 7th one I've seen this week. And I said, where is .re? Well, .re is a little country of Reunion. And Reunion is off the coast of France. I guess it's a very beautiful vacation destination. But follow me on this. So the .re really had a deeper meaning. The Revil ransomware gang had just prior to this announced publicly that they were no longer going to do ransomware attacks. They had had a change of heart and they were going to be good guys, blah, 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 blah. Well, we proved it wrong. It was like, holy cow, this is the Revil ransomware gang. And they were using the .re because it actually stood for Revil, the name of their gang. Well, a few weeks later, yep, lo and behold, we were right. The Revil gang came back and said, no, we changed our minds. We're going to continue to do ransomware. It's too profitable. Sorry, it didn't work out being good people. And so needless to say, we immediately added .re to all of our rule sets for any of our clients. So anything coming from .re was immediately blocked. And so look at that as a real high success story. So.
Great. Here's another question.
Okay.
What types of files contain ransomware?
Great question. So the really scary thing about today's ransomware attacks is it's not just file-based. We're seeing fileless attacks come all the time. And follow me on this if you can. So whenever, and this is something that BlackFog really excels at, we stop all web advertising, web profiling, any malicious type web traffic that's attached to any visit. And I'll give you a good example. So during our ransomware assessment, we will, after we get the software downloaded and on the device, we will have the customer or the prospect go on to, we normally give them a choice, go on CNN.com or FoxNews.com. We tell them purposely, don't click on anything, just go to the website. So they go to the website, and just by visiting either one of those websites, it doesn't matter what website, to be honest, but those are some of the main ones we use. ESPN, Fox News, CNN, major, websites. Well, they're just going to one website. So you would think you would only have traffic from one website, right? Well, the bad guys have figured out how to attach other visits and other traffic to those visits. So we will typically see, it's not uncommon to see 20 to 40, maybe I've seen as high as 60 different other websites just by visiting foxnews.com or CNN.com or ESPN.com. And we stop all that bad traffic. The two main things that we stop that really help prevent, an attack, other than when we stop the encryption communications, which is major, but the bad guys have learned how to basically get intel and information off of your web traffic. So, and what those are both called is web advertising and web profiling. So your employees might be going to a website that is just, absolutely innocuous and very, very harmless in its own right, they think. But because they're going to, let's say, eBay, I'll give you a good one. One that happens to me almost every day, LinkedIn. I spend a fair amount of time on LinkedIn. It's not uncommon to see several different Chinese visits with malware attached to them tied to LinkedIn that have been blocked by BlackFog on my own visits. So I hope that answers the question. So it's not truly just files, but it's fileless attacks. And this is where the bad guys have really, really stepped it up as far as doing the fileless attacks, because they use that information to then, build a case, a profile on you. And then that's how they also deploy a business email compromise, is once they learn more about you, They learn, you know, what you like, what your shoe size is, where you live, all the different things. And then they'll send you something. Let's say you were doing a search on, you know, metric wrenches. Well, you start getting all these pop-ups and ads for metric wrenches. Well, included in those will be additional spyware and malware that they're sending you purposely because they know that's what you've been looking for. So, and BlackFog, you know, we excel at stopping those, and it's an amazingly powerful, you know, side tool. So does that, does that answer that?
I think so. Thank you.
So, all right. I'm going to go quick like to our, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go to our monthly ransomware report. And this goes back a little bit further. I've got a few more stories too that I'd like to share. But this is something, again, that would be available to you. You can register on our homepage on blackfog.com for this monthly ransomware report. And then it's very powerful because it keeps track of all the current trends. And what's really the most scary is the fact that if you can see where my pointer's like for May, every single month other than April, the attacks just continue to rise. April was skewed last year because of a really massive HR attack that, you know, really kind of messed up the records. But as you see, every other month it's higher, 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 20, 21, 22. Ransomware by country. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So US, again, the main attack vector, and it's because the bad guys just know they attack the US, their chances of getting payment are that much better. Their chances of getting prosecuted are that much less. And so that's where the money is. That's where the bad guys are going to make hay. The variant, this changes almost on a monthly basis. The different groups and types of ransomware attacks. Conti continues to be a leader. The other is obviously just other, but you can see, and this has been kind of interesting to watch how the gangs have kind of ebbed and flowed. Data exfiltration by country. So this is where your data is going to. So Russia, China, Ukraine, and Iran are the four main countries that we see most data exfiltration going back to. The reason is we don't have reciprocity with Russia, China, Ukraine, or Iran. So the bad guys can steal your data, they can do anything they want, and they know that they're not going to have any type of, you know, retribution to pay. They don't face any type of criminal charges. They have nothing to worry about as long as they don't try to come into the United States, because, you know, likely there'll be immigration blocks or arrest warrants waiting for them if they've been identified. This chart on the left, ransomware by industry. Again, this goes right in line. It's technology, education, government, manufacturing, healthcare. You can all see it. But the main thing I want you to see out of it is really no one's immune from it, from an attack. You know, share a quick story in the industry. If most people on the call may or may not remember the big Target breach and the huge Target attack. Target had one of the best cybersecurity organizations and defense systems in the world. Great place. I've been up there. I've spoken at their event. Spoke at their headquarters. Fantastic cyber lab. You know, well, the long story short on it, Target's entire ransomware and a cyber attack was infiltrated by the bad guys identifying. They found a small newspaper article in an upper Northeast community. A small heating and cooling shop had done some work at a local Target store, and somehow it made the newspaper. And it was truly a mom and pop shop. 2 or 3 employees, just husband and wife, and maybe one employee. And so the bad guys infiltrated this little mom and pop shop with the goal of getting into Target. And that's literally how they got into Target, was through the mom and pop shop, because they knew there would be interaction as far as contracts, billing, communications, and that's what literally led to the one of the largest attacks during that time frame. So, size of organizations. You know, I'm sure we have people on the call today that you know, SMBs, small medium businesses, they are actually becoming more of a target versus less of a target. The bad guys have come to realize that the larger organizations have been spending a lot of money trying to build up their defenses and trying to prevent ransomware attacks, while those in the small SMB world, they've not only been hit with, the whole nightmare of COVID and the, financial impact from that. They're also, I work with small, medium businesses every single day. They're usually so overworked and understaffed that cyber defense is something that just doesn't really hit their radar very often. And if it does, they have no budget for it, or little budget. So the bad guys know this, and they're going to attack. They're going to attack where they can. It's no different than a hyena. They're going to attack the deer that's running the slowest. So I think one person had a question on, file versus, what type of files. This chart here, I think, really kind of gives a good support to my explanation too. Is RDP is remote desktop protocol. Email phishing is exactly that. Email phishing. Software vulnerability is exactly that. Software where they've been able to infiltrate through a software, and then other is other. But if you see, it's all pretty much leveled off. There was a time when remote desktop protocols, which was like a, fix my computer or accessme.com, things like that. Email phishing is simply email phishing, and people have gotten a little bit better at it. But the nice thing about BlackFog and the defense that we bring to you is that we stop, again, any and all, attacks, any outbound data exfiltration, and it's done automatically. So yeah. So do we have any other questions, Natalie?
I think we have one more. What are the signs that you've been infected by ransomware?
That's a good question. So and typically, to be bluntly honest, the normal sign is when you go to sign on to your computer in the morning, and there is a flashing nasty screen that says, sorry, but you've been attacked. And there'll be a counter clock that shows literally you have X number of days. They usually will give you a few days to pay up, but they'll have their ransomware demand right in the screen lock, and you can't do anything. You can't get out of that page. You can shut your device off in hopes that it goes away and come back on and it's there, but they've taken over your device. That is the typical ultimate in your face sign that you've been ransomware attacked. The bad guys follow this, and this is what they do. When they attack you, their goal is to get your data. So in order to get your data, they have to exfiltrate it. So they have to take it out. And they're only going to take it out a little at a time. So they might be in your network for literally weeks, if not months. And that's what we call dwell time. And they will be stealing your data a little bit at a time. But the important thing is they're stealing your data, they're taking your data, they're building their profile, they're getting ready to deploy their attack, but they need your data in order to have any value to this attack. Because once they have your data, they can lock you up, and then they can also say to you, well, hey, I go back to the dental office. They can say, well, we know that you have, 52 clients who live in the town of, blah, blah, blah. We know that you have X number this, X number that. They've got your data, so they can see your data. So if start questioning them, they send you examples and samples of what they've held and what they hold, and now you can't get your data back. So that is, that's probably that's the most realistic and scary. They'll grab your data once they've got everything they need, then they will deploy the ransomware attack. And they lock you up, they'll encrypt your whole network, your whole system. Meanwhile, they're holding on to your data, and they know that they can sell it on the dark web. They can reach out to those people. There's been several courts and police agencies that have been attacked by ransomware. Think of the nightmare that presents. Could you imagine, if you're, and I've been there, I was a post commander. I ran a police agency. If you lost all of your records and you no longer had control over them, the amount of nightmare that would create, because it's not just your troopers, your officers, and your payroll, your scheduling, things like that, but it's the confidential records. It's all the police investigations. It's all the court actions. there's so much more to the story, and the bad guys know that. If they hold these records hostage, that likely someone's going to pay them. And the scary thing is, it's such a, pardon my French, but damned if you do, damned if you don't type equation on the ransomware. It's, I have no love for anybody that is an organized crime or a ransomware gang person whatsoever. I despise them. But you, as a business owner or an organization leader, you have to figure out, what do I do to resolve this? To me, my biggest position in life at this point is to say, well, let's defend against it. Let's stop it from it ever happening. So much easier, so much more affordable, and so much more, peaceful for your mind. You're going to be able. We have CIOs and CISOs all the time telling us that they think of us as a sleep well service. They know that with BlackFog, they can actually sleep at night, not worrying about waking up in the morning and coming into the glaring flashing screen that says you've been ransomwared. I've touched on, COVID and all that, but remote workers, I'm pretty certain there's probably businesses on the call right now that are still letting a lot of their people run remotely. And this is another really side benefit of BlackFog, is that, again, you don't have to worry about your remote workers, accessing a bad website, because we stop the bad traffic from happening, which in turn stops the attack, and also, prevents you from having any type of an attack. So it should give you great comfort to know that, let's say you've got an employee that works out in a remote location, and then maybe they don't have the safest or best, Wi-Fi. I've got clients that literally know that their workers go into town and connect to Starbucks, or they work in parking lots and connect to hotel parking lot or hotel Wi-Fi, which there's not a Wi-Fi at a hotel in the world that I would trust without BlackFog, but with BlackFog on it, I connect all the time and don't even worry about it. So it really helps you with remote workers. It gives you peace of mind and confidence that what's going on, and you're not going to have any ransomware attack or data exfiltration, because BlackFog will stop it. But with BlackFog on it, I connect all the time and don't even worry about it. So it really helps you with remote workers. It gives you peace of mind and confidence that what's going on, and you're not going to have any ransomware attack or data exfiltration, because BlackFog will stop it.
There we are.
Great, appreciate it. Hope it was some value to everybody.